O que traz este americano ao Brasil é a necessidade de estreitar esforços no combate a crimes de colarinho branco. Adam Kaufmann é chefe da divisão de investigações na promotoria de Nova York. A equipe dele já recuperou US$ 1 bilhão de americanos acusados de sonegação e lavagem de dinheiro. O promotor também tem atuado com dedicação e rigor em investigações criminais contra brasileiros. Quer exemplos? Ele ajudou a Polícia Federal a desbaratar uma grande rede de doleiros implicados no escândalo Banestado, que virou até CPI no Congresso Nacional. Kaufmann conseguiu ordem de prisão contra o deputado federal Paulo Maluf na Justiça de Nova York. Lá, Maluf é acusado de controlar contas ilegais abastecidas com recursos da Prefeitura de São Paulo. Acusações que Maluf sempre negou. E é do promotor americano também a iniciativa de defender o bloqueio de US$ 1 bilhão do banqueiro Daniel Dantas em fundos nos Estados Unidos. Discreto e quase nunca disponível para jornalistas, Adam Kaufmann aceitou pela primeira vez dar entrevista para uma emissora de TV. O Milênio aproveitou a rápida passagem do promotor pelo Brasil. Ele esteve em Curitiba para falar a juízes federais brasileiros sobre sua grande especialidade: acordos de cooperação internacional para rastrear dólares de fraude, corrupção e golpes financeiros. Exatamente os temas desta entrevista que gravamos com exclusividade para o Milênio.
Dr. Kaufmann, por que o senhor acredita que a cooperação internacional é tão importante hoje na luta contra crimes financeiros como a lavagem de dinheiro?
I think, Cesar, that especially today, the nature of international economic crime makes cooperation so important. It's very easy for organized crime, for criminal networks, for people engaged in fraud, narco-trafficking, terror finance, to move their money anywhere in the world. The systems exist, and it requires efforts from people in different countries, law enforcement in different countries, to work together to discover the criminal networks and gather the evidence so we can shut it down. If you think about it, there's no one in any one country that will have all of the pieces of the puzzle. And I've seen that again and again, especially in some of the cases I know we'll talk about with Brazil, where part of the puzzle is in Brazil, part of the puzzle is in the United States, and part of the puzzle is in another country or another few countries. And it's only when the people from the various countries get together and share the information and cooperate and exchange ideas that we're able to track down the biggest and most sophisticated criminals.
O senhor diria que hoje os americanos e os brasileiros estão trabalhando cada dia mais próximos nessas grandes investigações que envolvem crimes financeiros internacionais?
I think we are. I think that, you know, for me, from my perspective in my office at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, we started off with two cases that were both Brazilian and American in nature. One was the Banestado case that began right here, I think, in Curitiba, and had money flowing through New York. And the other was the Beacon Hill case, which I believe here was called Farol da Colina. And those cases showed us the flow of black market money, of tax evasion, and of all sorts of other criminal proceeds. And that was sort of the starting point for our work together with the Brazilians. It was very important for my boss, Robert Morgenthau, that we pursue these type of international cases, because at the end of the day, we're serving the interest of justice by working with our colleagues in foreign countries to track down international crime.
Como é que o senhor se sente ajudando promotores e procuradores brasileiros em investigações de lavagem de dinheiro?
Well, I think we've helped each other. Often, let me back up for a moment. One thing that we see is that there are certain financial centers in the world where money moves. When money moves around the world and it's denominated in US dollars, chances are it passes through New York. If money is in pounds, it's going to pass through London. if money is in euros, it's very likely going to pass through Germany, through Frankfurt, Paris perhaps. So there's a few money centers that we know are going to be used. And what we see in these international transfers is there's a trail. Money leaves a trail, and it's an old saying, but we follow the money. And so over the last 10 years or so, there's been a tremendous increase in the sophistication of the criminals in moving the money, but also in law enforcement for chasing them down, and a far greater understanding that the criminals are not going to respect national boundaries. They don't care where their money goes. They want it to be safe somewhere, and they'll use any means to get it there. And so that requires a recognition from those of us in law enforcement that we also have to try to transcend national boundaries and work together to track down these criminals and their money.
Quando o senhor recebe pedido de cooperação internacional, quais são as condições que o senhor analisa para dizer, olha, eu vou aceitar ou eu vou recusar? Que tipo de condição básica que é importante para o senhor para dar um ok, um sinal verde para a investigação, para o acordo de cooperação?
I think that what we ask for from the countries seeking help is a clear statement of the facts and the evidence. We don't want them just to say, oh, there's money laundering, can you help us trace this money? We want the foreign prosecutor, the foreign police officer, to come to us with a very detailed statement of fact and to present that to us and establish for us that there's a crime being committed and that there's an interest in the United States. Well, let me not speak for the United States. I work at the Manhattan DA's office. That there's an interest in my office serving the ends of our mission to work with the foreign law enforcement authorities to track down this money. In large part, Mr. Morgenthau, for 35 years, has viewed one role of the Manhattan DA's office as a local cop minding the markets. He likes to say there's nothing better than a local beat cop keeping an eye on things. And so we have a strong tradition of trying to be a cop in Manhattan minding the financial markets.
Em quais circunstâncias, na opinião do senhor, é importante que haja a cooperação internacional entre o Brasil e os Estados Unidos?
Yeah, that there's a consistency, that there's an integrity to the evidence, that we're confident that there's a good reason to open our own criminal investigation to collaborate with the foreign law enforcement authority. Now, the other thing is sometimes we work directly and sometimes we work through the mutual legal assistance treaty path. And often we use a combination of the two. A lot of times it's easier to have a conversation between the prosecutors and go into the detail to see whether there's going to be an interest in moving forward together. And once we've established that we will have that interest, then it makes sense for the requesting authority to move forward with some type of treaty request through the central authority. But as a starting point, it always is good to have direct contact between the person that wants the information and the person who is going to try to obtain the information.
O que faz com que a investigação que o senhor desenvolva em Nova York seja mais rápida e mais eficiente do que a investigação que é tocada a partir do Brasil? Quer dizer, por que existe esse sentimento de que nos Estados Unidos, em Nova York, quando o senhor está mexendo num caso, esse caso anda muito mais rápido e as punições, as medidas que têm que ser tomadas são muito mais rápidas do que quando a gente vê esse mesmo caso sendo tocado no Brasil?